Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of ClassyNerdTalk. I'm your host, Sir Burkolater, and I have back my other friends. I have Elijah and Mr. Vulgarmeister T-Money. And we're going to be talking part 2 about Marvel today. Some of the key points that we missed last time because it kind of ran over and Elijah had to go to work. So we're going to pick up where we left off. So, where we left off was actually... I totally just scrapped my notes, but that's great. We were just talking Guardians of the Galaxy. But I wanted to move forward with 20th Century Fox. And what the problems that I have with 20th Century Fox and Marvel at this point, I think we should talk about some of the problems that Marvel has. So I'm thinking 20th Century Fox is a big problem that I do have with Marvel because, you know, they own some of the rights to like one of the best characters out there. And they don't do justice to some of the movies.
A lot of the characters.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's a list somewhere on the internet of every character they own, but it's a lot more than you would think. Like, it's somewhere in the hundreds. Like, somewhere I think last time I saw it was like 700 characters that they own between the X-Men characters and Fantastic Four. And, you know, some of those characters are big ones, like Wolverine. Some of those characters are lesser known, like Dupe. Exactly. Do you guys know who Dupe is?
No, I don't know.
There's no real reason for you to know who Dupe is. So there you have it.
Kind of like Snowflame in DC.
See, I don't even know who that is, so fair enough.
If you get a chance, look up Snowflame from DC and you'll laugh because that superhero should never be invented.
But yeah, I mean, it's between, you know, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four properties. They own all of the main characters and the rights to use all of the ancillary characters, which is why some of the larger characters who are involved in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four you don't see popping up in other movies where you'd like them to, like Galactus, Doctor Doom. But, what were you going to say?
I'm not sure if they own Namor.
I think he's kind of a gray area. I think at this point in time, I think they still technically have the rights to him, which is strange because the way copyright works is usually that with the characters in comic books, they own the rights to the characters based on the first time they ever appeared in the comic books. So for all intents and purposes, you would think that Marvel would own the rights to Namor because he first appeared in the Captain America and like the World War II era comics before they were even Marvel, like back when they were still timely. But I think technically because Namor became such a staple of the Fantastic Four comic books, like later on, and because he's associated with them so much more now than the older Marvel comics, I think technically somehow the copyright actually ends up reverting to Fox being able to use him, which is sad because, you know, Namor is another one of those characters who is amazing and we would love to see in Marvel movies, but he's kind of, you know, stuck in limbo over there.
I know you two don't like 20th Century Fox, but I love them.
I mean, I don't mind 20th Century Fox. I think it's one of those things where I think after watching Marvel movies and seeing what they've done with their characters, you feel like if they had the rights to those characters, they could do so much better. But I think 20th Century Fox, again, we're going to bring this up, is a lot better at handling those characters than, say, DC. Because there's a lot of hit and miss. You know, there's some movies that 20th Century Fox does with the X-Men characters that are amazing, that, you know, people will just gush about. Days of Future Past, more recently Logan. You know, everybody cannot stop talking about how amazing those movies are. Deadpool's
perfect example.
Yeah, perfect example.
But that's the thing though with that is like the problems that I do have with 20th Century Fox is probably the new Fantastic Four movie was utter garbage to me. I hated that film.
To everybody.
I think it was the most terrible film I've seen in like a long time.
If you were about to give that movie credence, I would stop this video right now.
He just likes it because Michael B. Jordan's in it. That's why.
I have a man crush on Michael.
Yep, see?
That's okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, and you know, that's another case of, like, I think as I often say with movies like that, I don't think it's the actor's fault. Like, even though some of the actors are not always likable actors,
Teller is a terrible guy.
Yeah, like real person.
I hate him as a person and as an actor. I can't believe he keeps getting acting jobs. I'm like, because I just recently watched him in War Dogs or whatever with Jonah Hill. It was terrible. I couldn't believe how bad it was.
The movie or like his acting?
Or both? His both.
But you also have to take into consideration that he's considered a good actor, subpar actor, because he did Whiplash. That's the film that really established him. But you have to give it to Simmons, though, on that one. Yeah. Simmons is way better at that Whiplash. Even that movie is like pretty much, two things, people usually get out of that. That guy's very abusive, or number two is that he made him a protege or whatever, kind of, it worked, his style did work, but yeah. But past that, yeah, I understand what you mean with that. He hasn't been in really anything else except for Whiplash that I expect. And I really didn't think he was even a fit for Mr. Fantastic.
No, and that's what they tried to do with making that franchise. They tried to go young. Going young doesn't always work.
Yeah, I think if they had written a better story, because, they based it off the Ultimate Fantastic Four version of the characters, which was, they were young, and they were coming into a think tank, and which, it was kind of strange that they tried to make all of them, with the exception of Ben Grimm the Thing, he was still kind of a jock, muscle type character, but the rest of them, even Michael B. Jordan, which isn't terrible to do, but it seemed odd that they tried to make him like a super intelligent character in the field of engineering. It just felt out of place and strange. But yeah, I think the way they did the story just didn't work. That was the whole problem. It's like, it was a good idea and concept, and it worked in the Ultimate Fantastic Four comic book for its part, but they just didn't really carry through with it the way they should have, which, from the sounds of things, was not even completely on the part of the director, but was partially the studio.
That's another thing. Marvel controls their studio, and they actually get free range on their movies. While 20th Century Fox and Warner Brothers, who owns the DC movies, they control everything. Yeah. The director can't sneeze without them saying, hey, I feel like this shouldn't fit in here. The only thing that 20th Century Fox, they've taken on two, like one, they've only had one movie under their belt with Gavin Hood, who did the X-Men Origins, and then Trank, who did the Fantastic Four. They both had one movie under their belt with a big studio. And they're like, well, this guy's a great director, but we need to guide him on what we want. And that's not what any director wants. Any director wants to have their own feelings, their thoughts put into a movie they're making, because their name's on it, not just us. 20th Century Fox stamped right there. No one knows the work put into making a movie. All they know is a director. A director is synonymous with good or bad films. Just like everyone knows that Mel Gibson is a director, and if he does something and it's terrible, it's Mel Gibson's fault. It's not the studio's fault, it's Mel Gibson's fault. And that's why Trank basically made a manifesto about how much he hates Fox.
Yeah, he did.
And then Gavin Hood, we haven't heard about him since.
I think he came back, though, because originally when X-Men Origins Wolverine came out, I remember not really hearing much about this, but when Trank came out and was talking about 20th Century Fox and how much they actually ended up almost sabotaging his film, I remember seeing stuff about Gavin Hood. Like, he suddenly popped up and was like, yeah, they did the same thing to me. And, in retrospect, part of you might think, well, he's just making that up probably because he wants to save face because the first one was so bad. But at the same time, if you look at some of the decisions that were made in the movie and kind of the way the movie was structured, you can see that that's probably true, because in the very first part of it especially, you had Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool, and he was playing Deadpool. He was amazing. He did really good. And then suddenly in the second half of the film, I don't even know if he did he even play that part in the second half? Where he
played the face of Deadpool, but he didn't actually, that was a stunt double.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Fight scenes were all stunt double.
And that whole thing, like, they suddenly were like, let's completely change Deadpool now because this is what we want to do. And you can tell, obviously, that was not on part of the director or the writer or anything, because it just did not make any sort of sense. It was completely counterintuitive to the character in the movie, in the comic books, in any way, shape, or form. It was just some studio exec that was like, hey, I have an idea.
It was a giant fart cloud that was just luminous around I know you guys make fun of me, but I actually like The Last Stand and Wolverine Origins. except for the ending of the movies.
Both of them.
Both of them, like, they were both on par for something good, but it leaves you thinking maybe there's more to it. Especially Wolverine Origins, like, that was not Deadpool at the end.
Sure.
I don't know where they got the idea. They're like, well, let's give him every X-Men's powers. Yeah.
They even make fun of it in the Deadpool movie. Like, they make fun of how much they changed. They're like, yeah, you remember X-Men Origins Wolverine? Wasn't that terrible? This is how it was supposed to be the whole time.
Yeah. It's thinking, it's another thing. It's like, they want to keep on par with Marvel because Marvel basically is Juggernaut. And everyone else wants to step toe-to-toe with the Juggernaut. The only one so far that's done that is Deadpool, the movie. And that one, above and beyond all X-Men movies, it's grossed more money than all Marvel movies.
Yeah, it's the highest.
Quite unfortunate.
I would almost even say, like, as much as I like Logan, and some people are probably going to disagree with me, to me, Deadpool, I think, is still above it. Because I think Deadpool did the best job out of any of the X-Men stuff of taking the source material and translating it to a live-action movie while making it keep the source material but still feeling fresh as a live-action movie.
Well, that, and I think you also had like a whole group of people that really, really love that character. And what made that movie was because the screening that came out for it, you know, that leaked footage that came out for it really put it in perspective. Hey, like, we're going to get Ryan Reynolds to play this. This is still Ryan Reynolds' baby. And also, too, is it looked good. Like, the test footage looked great, and we saw it, and we're like, that's the Deadpool we wanted the whole time.
Yeah.
And then they kind of, and I think that's what led into, like, you know, and I think 20th Century Fox is looking at now, they're like, look, I think we need to ease up on the reins a little bit now because of how big Deadpool's success was.
Another thing I think about with the whole studio, they didn't give Deadpool a very good budget. And even the second one right now, they didn't give him a very big budget. I think the execs were like, we're tired of hearing about Deadpool. Give him a first-time director like we always do, so we don't have to pay him that much. And which they gave to Miller, and he actually did really well.
Yeah.
And then they're like, let's not give him A-list actors. Ryan Reynolds is the only one, and he put up his ante. That's why what's crazy, if you guys didn't realize, in his contract, he made more money because he put his own money into it.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And I was like, wow, like, he really wanted to make the movie because he noticed that his career was, there's only so many rom-coms you can make and so many buddy films.
Weird indie movies that nobody watches or hears of.
And before you realize your star's starting to fade. And then when he did Deadpool, boom, Ryan Reynolds was on the tip of everyone's tongue. That's why after I watched Deadpool, how many movies did he come out with? Like, 5 or 6 right after Deadpool.
I mean, he's still got a couple that are about to come out right now.
That Assassin movie that's coming out.
And then the thing about it is, most actors know, if you do a good, iconic superhero, you're made. There's no way Hollywood can't scrub you out.
Even if you don't keep doing that superhero or the superhero genre, I mean, still, it puts you out there. Like we were talking about last time with Chris Pratt. It's like he didn't do a lot before Guardians of the Galaxy. Then he hit with Guardians, and people suddenly noticed him and were like, wow, this Chris Pratt guy can act, he's good. And now suddenly he's getting jobs in all kinds of different types of movies, big movies, small movies. You see him all over the place.
Well, that and also, too, is I think that it's a secure job for people sometimes. Because when you become something that's an icon of something, it's really hard to get rid of them. Like, let's take, for instance, Walking Dead. Daryl Dixon was not made for the comics at all. He was just put in the show. But he's still around.
Yeah.
People love that character because, for some odd reason, Norman Reedus is amazing at that character. Now, I don't like watching the show anymore, but that, you know, talk about it. The main characters are usually Rick Grimes and Daryl, you know, because he made that character iconic. So Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. I will always see him as Deadpool now. It's kind of like Hugh Jackman. It's really hard to replace Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Even though he's done some, you know, those movies, some of those movies were but it was still Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
Yeah, like even if you don't like the movies, you still watch it and you're like, Hugh Jackman is amazing as Wolverine.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, every time Hugh Jackman is doing a scene, it's like, boom, he is Wolverine. Like, even in, like, movies where people didn't like him, they're like, man, Hugh Jackman knocked it out of the park with that. He's like, you just can't say anything bad about him being Wolverine because he does everything.
Yeah, even
perfect.
if you don't like the movie, you can't say anything bad about
Yeah,
Hugh
that was
Jackman
like
as that.
that is the most perfect role I've seen in superhero films was Hugh Jackman, because when I see Hugh Jackman, I think of Wolverine. I don't think of anyone else. When they talk to, this is his last one. Even Logan, that was his last one. So it's really hard because I don't see anyone else being
So he
that
says.
potential.
I still feel like he'll come back for the right thing. Kind of like Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy. They constantly step down. Like, I'm not going to voice the Joker anymore. I'm not going to voice Batman
killing
anymore.
joke.
Exactly. You bring back the right project, and you give them the right idea, and they're like, okay, I'll do it.
Even then, it's like they asked him to do Deadpool 2 with them, and they even said, you don't have to play Logan. You can just do a cameo. And he's like,
I bet he will. I feel like that's something that he would like. He would have fun doing that.
I know he likes Ryan Reynolds a lot because they hang out outside of acting and working.
And they've done a lot of back and forth, like viral stuff for the X-Men stuff with Deadpool and Logan both.
I don't know why he doesn't want to be Wolverine in any of the Deadpool movies, because Wolverine is not a main thing in Deadpool movies or Deadpool comics or anything else like that. But it's kind of cool to see them two interact, because that's where, even though they didn't show it too well on Deadpool the movie, that's where Deadpool gets his powers, because he's a mutate, not a mutant.
Right.
With Fox owning all mutant rights, there's a lot of mutants that everyone's just like, wow, they could show this and this. And at the same time, it makes for a bad movie, because every character has their own backstory. And if you just throw, like, I know a lot of people, I didn't like Apocalypse. Did you like Apocalypse?
I didn't either. I thought it was just, it was alright.
I liked it, but at the same time, it's one of those movies where if you don't like it, I'm not going to look at you and say, you're crazy, that movie was amazing. That movie had problems. There was too much going on. It was too busy.
You also have to realize with Apocalypse, and I always do this, is there was a movie that came before that was like the best one out of all of them. And it was really hard to top that. It's really hard to top something like that. That's why I have a fear for Deadpool 2. But if we'll see. I'm not giving it the doubt that it might not do it, but it's really hard to top something that's been great. Future Days of Past was actually considered my favorite X-Men storyline so far, movie wise.
Or you could give it more faith, because it could be Godfather Part 2.
It could be. You never know. You never know. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe. There's always that possibility, but it's hard. I think that's the problem with the X-Men movies is, I think if you look at them as a whole, they're not all great. They're not all bad. You have some that are good, some that are bad, some that are just okay. So it's hard because with Marvel movies, overall, they're all really good. You never really look at one, well, you might look at one or two and be like, that was garbage. But even, some of them like Iron Man 3 or Thor the Dark World, I don't exactly look at them and think, God, that's crap, I can't believe they made that. I look at that and I say, that could have been better, but it wasn't terrible.
I still say Iron Man 3, I'm like, gosh dang.
You just can't handle it.
No, I can't.
I couldn't either. I don't blame you.
That's like a dingleberry off your butt.
Wow, that's extreme. That's another case of I can see. I like that movie, but I can absolutely see why people don't like it because it has tons of flaws, tons of problems.
That's the two films that I really didn't care too much for in the Marvel universe. It's probably the Fantastic Four that came out, and I would have to say probably X-Men Wolverine Origins. All the other ones I can watch again and be like, okay, Wolverine, like the Wolverine movie that came out, I liked it until probably the last act, and it kind of got boring. It kind of just felt like it was dragging on a little bit.
Silver Samurai.
But, I didn't mind it, though. I watched it, I was like, this is all right. But most people think, Last Stand is terrible. I don't mind Last Stand. I don't think it's the best out of all of them. I know you like it, but I can still watch it. I can still watch it. That's the thing.
Same thing. I think it's not a terrible movie. And I think that's another one of those cases where I think the story was structured very strange.
Well, if you don't remember, Singer actually got in trouble during that, so they had to switch to another director. Because the beginning of it was starting out well, and then they switched director.
I thought that was Days of Future Past that he was getting in trouble with that.
That was Last Stand.
All the way back to Last Stand.
Last Stand, he was the child accusations, and he had to quit the project to deal with legal issues and stuff like that. So they had another director.
And that could be part of it too.
Yeah. Like, who in their right mind thinks, let's kill Xavier? Yeah, that's...
Well, and that one is one of those ones where it wasn't even him. Like, it wasn't even just that. I think that was one of those movies where I compare it to, how do I want to put it? Like, murder porn, I guess is the best way I can put it. Like, the Saw movies or something like that, where you're literally watching it just to see what can go wrong. Exactly, because you watch that movie and it's like, every movie needs drama. Every movie needs something to latch onto to have those moments where you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. But X-Men The Last Stand, by the time you watch it, you're like, I can't believe that movie just happened. Because they just keep doing stuff in that whole movie with the characters dying or with people losing their powers. And it's just unbelievable what they do by the end of it, that you're just like, I can't believe that happened. I think that's what a lot of people have a problem with. Not even so much that the movie's bad, but I think by the end of it, it just altered the landscape so much of the X-Men movies that you kind of don't want to believe it.
But I will recognize about 20th Century Fox is they fix things like that, though. Because Future Days of Past, the ending fixed a lot of the things that we had problems with.
Yeah.
They were just like, look, we know Origins was terrible. We know how this works. But when they switched to the future, they were like, oh, well, we can change this with the storyline. So let's change it in the progress. And I think that's what's going to progress through like the X-Men movies that we see in the future. I think now 20th Century Fox is to a point where they're going to start making good movies.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Sir Burkolater here for Classy Nerd Talk. I just wanted to give a quick thing about this video ran pretty long, so we decided to split it up in another part, and then we have another part coming out too that will finish this out. But I just want to thank Elijah and T-Money for coming on to the show today. Also, too, is like, share, and subscribe. Also, we have a Facebook group called Classy Nerd Talk. Just add, and we'll add you as a member. And just remember, if you're not nerd enough, you're not classy enough. Have a good day.